Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to www.kickinthecreatives.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome to today's episode, and today we're going to share some tips on how to overcome imposter syndrome. But before we get onto that, we want to say a big thank you to our latest Ko-fi supporters, and they are Rachel Redding. She says, "Thanks for everything you do. I love the group, prompts and podcasts. They're ace." Also, Joanna Brown, thank you so much, Joanna, Penny Voller, and Marcia Furman.
We really appreciate the support. Not only does it help us with the cost of running Kick in the Creatives, which helps keep us doing what we do, but it also shows that you like what we're doing. So thank you for that. And we've also got a review on iTunes, and it says, "Great for binge listening." It says, "I've just discovered this podcast a few weeks ago and I've been busy listening to all them back to the beginning. They're all great and I find myself chuckling under my breath while listening at work. Keep it up." And that's from Bella Weller 4.
Bella
From
Weller.
USA. Yeah.
Do you know, though, I can't imagine binge listening to us. Can you imagine?
No. It's bad enough us binge listening to us, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'd rather cut my own ears off, actually,
Yeah.
like Van Gogh. Okay, and we also want to thank everyone who's been sharing their work with us on social media. So much, as always, has caught my eye. Esther Arroyo, she's been doing the August Trio Challenge, and she's been doing some gorgeous alla prima paintings of fruit. Have you seen them? They look like you could pick them up and eat them. They are lovely, aren't they? This one's harder to pronounce. Valeria Hollodsnack. Hopefully, I'm so sorry if I've pronounced that wrong, but she's been doing the Kick 365. And you must have seen these as well. They're like tiny cutout drawings. And they're like, she stands them up. I think she draws them on card, sort of stiff card, these tiny little drawings. She did one of a fish bowl with a little goldfish in it. It was so sweet. And then I think she must sort of bend the underneath over and stands them up. But they are really cute. I don't know what they are, or what they're for, other than just being these really lovely little things. And I kept thinking, God, I'd love having some of those just sitting around my art studio. They're really cool. Have you seen them?
I think they'd make great greeting cards, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Really cute.
But these ones, I get the sense that they're only about the size of 50p, maybe.
Oh, I don't know.
So they're really, I think they're really small, but they are adorable. I really love those. Julie Turner, she's been doing the 31 Animals August Challenge on toned paper. So she's kind of doing... Is it the quick kick, the toned paper, isn't it? And the Animals August sort of all in one. So, and she did one. Oh, it was gorgeous. It was one of like a spread of a polar bear on one half of the spread and a swan on the other one. And she'd used this white on this buff paper, but all these other colours in the white. And the tones and colours were absolutely gorgeous. They really sort of popped out from the page. Have you seen those ones?
Yeah, they're great. I've been watching those on Instagram, actually.
Oh, amazing. What's caught your eye anyway?
Well, I really like the work of Michael David Gessler, and he's on Instagram, and he's been doing Kick 365. He shares loads with us, doesn't he? He always shares his drawings with us.
Yeah, I love it.
It's some absolutely beautiful watercolour sketches he does, and it's anything from spaceships to landscapes to faces and animals. He's like so diverse. Yeah, I do love his spaceships. They are great.
I know, because every now and then I see one of his on Instagram, and I'm like, and I quite often share them to our stories because something catches my eye. I must share that, and I've shared a few of his. They are lovely.
And then also Sue's Doodles 75 on Instagram, and she did this blind contour portrait of an eccentric old woman for Facetastic Friday, and it just got tons of character. I absolutely love the Facetastic Friday challenge on Instagram. There's just so many great faces, and they all look so different.
It's amazing, isn't it, how one person, or several people see one person in such different ways, and they find completely different ways of putting them onto paper. It's amazing. Yeah, it's been
really is
really fun to watch that one.
I've actually had a go a couple of goes myself. I think you need to have a go at that as well. You like drawing a face.
Yeah, I like drawing a face. Yeah, I do.
Go on, go for it.
Well, the reason I haven't been joining in with anything like that is because I've got some paintings in progress. I've actually got 2 in progress. So any spare time I've had, I've been sort of trying to get on with those.
That's unusual for you to have 2, isn't it? You don't normally work on 2 at the same time.
No, but I'm doing 2 wine bottle paintings alongside each other. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the first stage on one canvas, and then the first stage on the second, and then the second stage on the second canvas, and so on. And so, for instance, the background, because it's the same, all the sort of same, it's just completely different angles. So a lot of the colours I'll use perhaps for the background of one will be in the other. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah,
I thought I'm going to do it like that this time. I haven't, because Paul and I went away for the weekend, so normally I'd be a lot further on by now, but I haven't actually sort of got back onto them for the last sort of week. But I will be getting onto those again towards the end of this week. So anyway, that is what's new with me, in case you were going to ask. And what's new with you?
Well, it's funny because I wrote my notes last week. So we were going to record last Wednesday, and it's now a week after. And I've actually written here, I have nothing to tell you. I haven't created anything. It says, in fact, I was sitting in the car waiting at the vets, and I thought I should have taken my own advice and bought my sketchbook. That's what I'd written. Well, actually, that's all changed because I was feeling so jaded from the puppy, because he started getting us up more than once a night. So we were ending up getting up 2 or 3 times in the night, because of course you never know if he really needs to go out or if he's just, bored.
Yeah.
So we were so tired, and because of that, I just hadn't felt like I had any energy for drawing. I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
You get like that sometimes. It's a bit of a blocky type thing, I guess. So I thought the only way I'm ever going to start creating properly and regularly again is to set myself a challenge. And you know how I love a challenge.
You do love a challenge, don't you?
I do. So I decided I was going to create myself a 50 abstract faces challenge. So my task between now and the end of September is to create 50 abstract faces. And I've deliberately done it so it's not I have to create a face a day. So that way I can, if I want to, like say one day I just made some backgrounds, but then quite often I'm drawing 2 faces.
I see, yeah. So if you do none one day, you'll do 2 the next, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then also like I can spend a day making backgrounds. So, and it kind of takes the pressure off myself. And you might want to do that. I mean, generally I'm drawing every day, but it means that I don't feel so pressured.
Yeah.
So I'm finding that's working quite well for me. And I'm working a bit smaller than I normally would when I work on loose paper, because I normally work, say, either A3 or a square out of A3.
Yeah.
And I'm working A4 at the moment. And I'm actually trying out these mixed media art boards. I found these mixed media art boards by C White. We've both got C White sketchbooks.
Yeah.
And it's nice paper, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
But it's that paper, so it is a cartridge paper, that mixed media cartridge paper, but it's mounted onto a board. And it seems to be able to take quite a lot of wet media. And they're relatively cheap for a kind of board as well. So I've been using those, and yeah, I'm quite liking those.
I've never worked on a board before. Only like a canvas board for oil painting when I first started. But yeah, I've heard of watercolour boards as well.
Yeah, they're very similar to those, I guess. I've used watercolour boards, and I've got some actually as well. But I like these because they are really smooth. They're smooth like the sketchbooks. And I already love the sketchbooks anyway. But what's great is, because normally I'll tape down the pieces to a board.
Yeah.
Which doesn't take long. It only takes minutes. But it means that you lose your edge, don't you? So if you've got an A4, you're already slightly inwards because you've taped it down.
Yeah.
And I just like that you've got the whole board, and then you haven't got to worry about it buckling. It's quick, and you just like put a thing there. And also, if you want to try and do a background, that always makes it go a bit wrinkled, doesn't it? If you're going to use a mixed media paper, it's always, even however much you try, it goes a little bit wrinkled. Yeah. So yeah, I'm quite liking those. But I'm using some gum tape as well. I love my gum tape.
Yeah, you're right into the gum tape, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm liking that.
Anyone wants to know why, listen back to our last episode.
Yes.
So I guess that's all that's new with you, is that you're doing this 50 abstract faces. Mind you, I mean, what else would you possibly have time for?
No, I think that's... Oh, I am. I did start messing about on my website because I've got, I recreated my art website in WordPress because before it was in Wix.
Yeah.
I think I'd done it in. And supposedly Wix is this really easy platform and I didn't find it easy at all. So I've done it in WordPress, which again isn't easy, but I expected that and it's more flexible for me. But I've been trying to incorporate a payment system now, which is this plugin using WooCommerce. So blimey, that is a bit complicated. So yeah, I'm doing that at the moment.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I've got a website of my own and I've had websites on different platforms. And you actually built our website, didn't you? Because you wanted to use WordPress and I've not had any experience with WordPress. Yeah. But even when I want to change something on it, like a bit of wording or something, I'm like, I am lost. It seems so complicated to me. So
yeah, I think some of that is probably the theme because you can use different themes on WordPress.
Yeah.
So it could perhaps be easier if we use a different one. And I'd perhaps do it differently if I started again. I might do all different. So you learn, don't you, as you go?
You do, as you go. Right, well, I guess we could get on to today's topic, which is all about imposter syndrome. We actually did an episode on imposter syndrome before, but it was really, really early on in episode 10. And we thought that now would be a really good time to revisit this subject because Tara and I have got quite good reason to be going through a bit of that ourselves recently. But it's quite funny, isn't it? Because when we spoke about doing another episode on this, we both said, let's not look back on the notes of the last one because we want to approach it as we would now with new information if we've got it. And I haven't actually looked back on the episode 10, so I have no idea if we're covering new things or some of the other ones or what. I don't know if you did you?
I actually read some of my notes afterwards, after we'd done the bullets. And it was really interesting to read bits about what I felt imposter syndrome about back then because I wasn't drawing much at the time. It was only when I just started, drawing again by hand, and so I was talking about stuff when I was doing graphic design, which was quite weird to read. I'd sort of forgotten.
Yes, I think they'll probably be quite different episodes. So anybody who desperately wants to know more about this subject, go back to episode 10 and listen to that one maybe first. So how do you know when you've got imposter syndrome? Well, I think one easy sign is that you feel like you don't deserve the recognition you're getting or that you feel like a fraud. You look at other people in your field and feel inferior somehow. And I think that most of us go through that at times. I suppose you could kind of also call it comparisonitis maybe in some way as well. That's part of it, I think. But what you might not realise is that, interestingly, imposter syndrome is something you are most likely to experience the better or more successful you become at what you do. So if you have it, it's actually a good sign. It's a good sign that good things are happening.
Yeah, it's funny actually because we were talking about how it's now hitting us, this imposter syndrome. Yeah. And that's because we were, to give a little bit of overview without telling people, is we were presented with this opportunity. We were basically emailed about an opportunity. And I was especially, so not believing this was real, I actually thought it was a scam email. And then you believed that it could be a scam as well, didn't you, when I told you? Because we were thinking, no, this would never happen. and I guess it's because we've developed Kicking the Creatives and we've now got to a point where people are starting to notice. But we didn't feel like, we don't feel like we're there yet, I guess. It's when you haven't quite matched where you've got to. Does that make sense?
No. Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like you've improved a lot, but you're kind of, the way you think hasn't reached that level.
But that's interesting though, because we spoke about this, I think, in our last episode where, you're never going to reach that place that you think you should be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was that saying I read in a book? Perfection is always one step ahead of where you already are, at least, and so it's actually unachievable. So I think everyone, no matter how good they get or whatever, or how much good they're doing, they always feel like they're a bit of an imposter. I mean, I remember being on that podcast. This is obviously way it's actually how we met, isn't it? You heard me being interviewed on somebody's podcast, on your Creative Push podcast. I remember when Mike asked me, and I just thought, well, why would he want me? Why would he invite me on his podcast, and it was actually, my husband said, no, you should do this, because I was terrified. And obviously, as I was talking, I was thinking, who am I to be, expressing any kind of opinion on this podcast, or talking about, my journey on this podcast, because, I'm just me. I'm not anyone famous or important. And so I very much felt like an imposter at that moment. I think the most important thing about it is you should never react outwardly to imposter syndrome. That's definitely not a good idea. So even if you have to pretend to be confident and bluff your way through something like that, then that is exactly what you need to do. And that's where the saying, fake it until you make it, comes in. I guess, it comes from somewhere, that saying, doesn't it? And ultimately, if you don't believe in yourself, or at least pretend to on the outside, then nobody else is going to believe in you either. People believe in people who believe in themselves. That's a bit of a mouthful. Yeah. But it is easier said than done. You almost have to train your brain to overcome that feeling of doubt and just own your achievements, because, if you're doing something really well, then you must have done something right to earn that. Or if you've got somebody noticing what you're doing, well, they're noticing you for a reason. And I know that in the very early stages of when I was painting, and, my paintings got to a stage where most of them would just turn out how I'd hoped. But I just remember thinking, well, I actually remember describing myself to other people who said I was good as a serial fluker. As more and more paintings, went how I'd planned, I just thought, wow, another fluke. It was almost like I didn't believe, it was the fact that I was learning and I knew what I was doing. It was like, oh, well, that's another massive happy accident, And I think also it can be like a feeling of guilt. I don't know. Do you get what I mean by that?
No, I mean, I don't feel like guilt. Sometimes if I do something and I think it's good, it feels like it's come from outside myself.
Yeah.
Right, it doesn't feel like it's me that actually did it. It's a bit like that Muse thing. Do you know what I mean?
Go on.
No, it's a bit like, it's almost like, yes, I'm the one that creates, going a bit woo-woo here, and I'm not really very woo-woo.
No, this is very woo-woo for
it's
you.
Like, you created something and you look back at it and you think, yeah, I didn't create, because you think, oh, I quite like it. You think, I didn't do that. It's almost like something's been channeled through you. Not that I really believe that, do you know what I mean, though? It's like, it doesn't feel like it was you that did it.
I think you can get into a zone, can't you? It's such a zone where you almost, like, it's a bit like when you're driving.
Yes.
Probably yes. This is probably why I totally, hands up, I'm a terrible driver. But I can get from A to B, and then half of it I think, oh, God, am I here already? I don't remember going even down that road. And it's like you're on a robot, you just totally zone out. And with painting or drawing or whatever creation you do, you can completely zone out, and you can almost think, well, I don't even remember how I did that. Surely I didn't do that. That was just...
it is like that. It's like you look back at the end and think, yeah, I didn't do that.
No, my subconscious sort of made me do it, but I don't know. It wasn't really me.
No, I mean, you talking about the serial fluker is quite interesting as well, because me and Kevin were having this conversation. There's nothing to do with this podcast, but we started to talk about, he actually started to put himself down for things. So he was saying he wasn't very intelligent. And he's very intelligent. But he says, I'm not that intelligent. And I said, well, it depends who you're measuring yourself against, doesn't it? if you're measuring yourself against the average person, just an average person, then you probably are quite intelligent. But if you're measuring yourself against
Einstein,
then you're not very intelligent. And it went on like this, and he says, I'm not a very good golfer. And I go, well, you are a good golfer. He goes, well, I'm not, because he's got a good handicap, a decent handicap, but he's not near the top of the club. But I said, but again, it depends who you're measuring yourself against, because there'll be lots of people at your club and think, if they play against you, they'll think, oh, Kevin's a good golfer. But then there'll be people who are much better who don't think you are. So it all depends. The conversation went on and on like this. It's funny. But and I was going, well, I'm not a very good artist then, because loads of people sell loads of paintings, and I don't sell my paintings. I haven't sold my paintings. And then I said, and loads of people have got more followers on Instagram, so therefore I'm not a very good artist.
And what was his reply to that?
He goes, oh, don't make this about you. Which was quite funny, because don't get all sad.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, let me go on from what I was supposed to be saying, which was, if you have imposter syndrome, you might apologise for your work or point out everything that's wrong with it. Instead, what you should be doing is pointing out things that you like about your work, or if you really don't like it, don't share it, or just don't say anything. Just put it up, talk about what you've done, but don't say, I don't like this. Just don't say anything. And I actually did this. I was telling you, wasn't I? Didn't I? The other day? So my 50 abstract faces, I've been putting them up, and obviously you like different ones, because almost for me, this is almost about me experimenting. It's a bit like me doing that challenge I did before. You remember my Find Your Art Style? Yeah. But it's like a step on from that. So it's now taking the things I like. And so each day I'm doing things, and I'm just messing about and experimenting. And I did one the other day, and I thought, oh my God, that is awful. I really do not like that. So I thought, just post it anyway. Don't say you don't like it. Just don't say anything about it. Just put the normal stuff about why you're doing the challenge and all this. Anyway, put it up. It's got the most likes out of all of them, by twice as much.
Wow.
As the next. I think nearly twice as much as the next one. And it's been saved more times than the others. You get things saved. People can save your work.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, why? and someone said, this is my favourite of what you've done. And I'm like, what? So it just shows you that if I'd have said, I don't like this, then either people would have been, oh, I love it, trying to make me feel better, or I would have felt like they were trying to make me feel better, or people might not have liked it and stuff as much, because I would have put doubt in their mind possibly about whether it was any good or not, which is kind of weird.
And it raises a question, doesn't it? What's most important, whether you love it as the artist or the people love it as the viewers? If you have to pick one, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I was actually thinking about that the other day, because when I saw that people like this, and I thought, well, should I be doing more like that? But obviously, if I don't like it,
or did you not like it because you weren't confident in it, because it felt totally different? You just didn't like it.
No, yeah. I felt like it was very overworked,
right?
And I'd thrown too many colours into it. I know I go mad on the old colour, but I just felt like there was no unity. I didn't feel like it was, balanced.
Yeah,
colour-wise, not compositionally necessarily, but I'm always really surprised and in awe, to be honest, of people on Instagram who have the bottle to say, oh, I love this piece I've created.
Yeah.
And you get people who do that, and I often think, are they doing it to show confidence and to make people think, oh yes, it must be amazing, they love it, or are they doing it because they genuinely do love it? What do you reckon?
I don't know is the answer. I don't know. If you take something like, we've spoken about this before, haven't we, like really ultra modern art, and some of it there are people out there who can really, really draw, don't get me wrong, but perhaps they might do something. And I remember going to see, I think it was Tate Modern with my mum, and on the wall, it was quite funny because there was one wall, great big wall, and on it there was this great big white frame, and in the centre of this frame, which was mounted, but it was the tiniest little drawing that had been drawn on sort of scrap note paper, like somebody's been doodling when they're on the phone.
Yeah.
Couldn't quite work out what it was. It looked like it might have been some kind of drawing of like the Millennium Wheel in blue biro pen. I remember thinking, oh, maybe that's the Millennium Wheel, but it was perhaps like a 5-year-old had drawn the Millennium Wheel, right? In the centre of this thing. It had a whole wall dedicated to itself, and it was by Tracy Emin. And I just thought that same question applies, doesn't it? Does she believe that that's really good, or do other people believe that's really good because she drew it,
or because she says it's really good?
Exactly.
Has she got such self-conviction
and
such
self-confidence that she has done something like that probably in about, I don't know, 5 minutes, and it's now on a London gallery wall worth...
Yeah, I'd love to know if you knew her really well, and if she would ever dare admit it, if she goes, I can't believe people buy that, or if she really does think that what she creates is, amazing.
If somebody else had drawn it and they'd never drawn before and they were trying to draw the Millennium Wheel, I'd go, oh, brilliant, you've attempted that, and you've got, I can see what it is, But this is a person who's selling work for thousands of pounds and are incredibly well known. I actually, do you know what? I should look this up. I've actually never really looked into Tracy Emin. I don't actually know if she can draw realistically or
I've seen
otherwise.
TV program or something on her, and she was or it might have been on YouTube or something, and she was doing kind of live drawing type stuff, and she actually said, people don't realise, but I can actually draw.
Yeah,
I remember her saying that, and she could draw.
But so she can draw, yet that is what she's putting out there, because maybe that's because what people expect of her, so that's become the thing she does.
Or it's controversial, not controversial, but it's like
raises questions.
Yes. I think so, because say me or you did exactly the same piece, and we took that in to somewhere, like if we could somehow get a meeting with the curators of the Tate Modern, and took that in and said, would you hang a piece? They'd go, no.
It's a name. I think it's a name behind. Once you have a big name, you can get away with anything, can't you?
But that's like famous people, like I can't remember. It was a princess. What's her name? Married to Andrew. Fergie.
Oh, Fergie.
Yeah, so Fergie.
Princess, what's her name? I love that. Yeah. So, Sarah Ferguson, isn't it?
She had kids' books. She wrote kids' books, didn't she? And I don't know if they did well. I assume they did well. But she's now written a novel of some kind. But I always wonder, like, would those books have got printed if she wasn't who she was?
Yeah,
because if that turns up on if you're a, what do they call, like an editor or whatever, and that turns up on your desk, you're going to read that. Whereas if it turns up from me or you, it's in your pile of hundreds of others, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying though about apologising for your work.
Oh yes.
And that, like you said, that's a real big symptom of imposter syndrome, isn't it? Oh, I know it's not very good, but... And I remember, I've got a friend who's a really talented artist, and I remember she's not overly, and she would be the first to admit this, she's not great at, or she certainly wasn't great at, like marketing herself at all, and like website stuff and that. She's not like hot on stuff like that. But, I said to her, you need to really put yourself out there on Facebook. Your stuff is amazing, so show it, And I remember telling her off because one day she put a painting up that she'd done, and she said, "Not everyone's cup of tea, I know, but..." And to be honest, I don't even know what the rest said. I straight away I got onto a text and I said, can you take that post down? You need to not put that. You've got to say, oh, look what I've done.
Yeah,
Even
the
if you
people who
don't
it's not their
feel
cup
it.
of tea. Yeah,
Even if you don't feel it, the minute somebody looks at that and thinks, oh, I like that, and then they go, oh, the artist clearly doesn't like it, so why would I ever want to buy something the artist doesn't like? There must be something wrong with it, you know. So yeah, don't do that. Like Tara said, point the stuff out that you love about it, and definitely
or
don't
keep your mouth shut.
or say nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. But that as well, saying not everyone's cup of tea. I mean, the people whose cup of tea it wasn't anyway are just going to ignore it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, you don't need to say that.
She doesn't do that anymore.
Doesn't she?
I don't. No, she doesn't apologise for her work anymore.
Oh, good. Anyway, you were going to talk about your art in a magazine, weren't you?
Well, yeah, that was the next point I was going to make. How on earth did you know? Did you see
I
my
don't
bullet?
know.
Did you see my bullet point? Yeah, I remember feeling weirdly embarrassed the first time my art was published in a magazine. And I just thought, well, you know, who am I to have my stuff published? I just felt like I was being exposed as this kind of like fraud. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, though, I felt proud as well. But then what was the weirdest thing about it was that feeling of pride made me think even more that if I feel proud to be in a magazine, then I can't really be good enough to be in it. Otherwise, why would I feel proud of it? It's really strange how our minds work, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, it's been published several more times in magazines since then. And, I you know, now I don't feel that way. I just think, oh, that's, you know.
That's nice.
Yeah, another one for my mum to go looking for in the shops and buy. Actually, we got a message the other day, didn't we? Oh,
Yeah, it was lovely, wasn't it?
yeah, we got a message from somebody who had come across, they'd discovered Kicking the Creatives they'd gone to a flea market. She'd picked up an old copy of Leisure Painter magazine. And, you know, most people just chuck magazines away, don't they? But obviously, whoever it was felt, oh, I'll sell it. Maybe it was because we were inside it, Tara. What do you think?
Maybe, yeah.
Far too good to throw
signed it,
away.
couldn't we?
Yeah. Anyway, she wrote us this lovely message to say that she discovered it because we had done in this magazine this like this challenge. Was it a month's challenge of doing something creative every day or something?
Yeah.
And she said she'd shared it with, like, I think it was her mum and her sister and people like that, and they'd all really enjoyed doing this challenge. And I thought that was a really nice message to receive because that was a long time ago now. Do you reckon about 5 years ago?
Oh, no, because we haven't only been doing this for 3.
Oh,
3.5.
no, it can't be.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 3.5 years, so it was probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, well, that's quite a while.
Yeah.
That's quite a while ago.
Also means we're in the bargain bin, remember?
Yeah, that's true. Don't point that out.
No, it's like when you used to get your records or CDs and, you know, they'd gone down from £2 or whatever to 10p. And everybody's in the bargain bin. We're in the bargain bin.
Yeah. So have you ever felt that then? Because, I mean, as I've mentioned that I felt the imposter syndrome, first of all, when I was on that podcast, and then when I got my art was being noticed enough to be published in a magazine. So those are the two first times that I ever felt, oh my gosh, I feel such an imposter. What about you? What was the first time?
I felt oh God, I couldn't tell you the first time because I've had it loads of times. You know, when someone asks you to do a drawing for them, even you know, that's weird. But probably one of mine is when we first started the Kicking the Creatives podcast and talked about art. Because I'd done a podcast before, but it was always interviewing people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't my opinions or, you know, or mine and your opinions. It was just me asking someone else about themselves. And saying your own opinions is such a different thing.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, wow, I don't know if I'm qualified to talk about art because I've only just started drawing by hand again. Because, you know, I'd probably been doing it for 6 months, I guess, by the time we started the podcast, hadn't I? Because we'd been doing the challenges.
Yeah, but you'd done it before and you'd been a graphic designer for years, so you were an artist of sorts. You were just doing it digitally.
Yeah, I know. But we were talking about drawing by hand and some of the things, weren't we? And I just thought, I'm not sure if I should be giving people advice because I've just started doing this. But then now I think about it, ironically, that's probably what made it better because You were the more experienced artist at drawing by hand, selling your work and stuff like that. But I was probably more in the position that some of the people who were listening to the podcast were. So some might be in your position, some were in mine. It's like the Spice Girls again, isn't it? So it's like you were experienced Spice and I was newbie Spice.
Oh, yeah, but I think because of that, you know, people then could go on a journey with you, couldn't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see
they go on a journey with newbie Spice.
Newbie Spice. Yeah. So yeah, I guess you have to ask yourself why you feel like an imposter. That's another thing, isn't it? Is it because you're comparing yourself to other people who are more experienced? Because no matter how good you get, there's always going to be those people more experienced than you, or who you think are better than you, and that's where that saying I said earlier, comes in. Perfection is a state which is always at least one step ahead of where you're already at. Something that's never really going to be achievable. And I think that sums things up perfectly, really. But instead of thinking that someone else's art is better than yours, why not just accept that actually it's just different? And that's what makes art so interesting, that everybody has a different style or a different approach, a different level of bravery, such as someone like Tracy Emin. Do you know what I mean? Who is willing to just put anything out there and see what sticks, you know.
And make a lot of money from it.
And make a huge amount of money. If you're really, if you are really at a much earlier stage in your art and you know that you're not where you want to be, that does not make you an imposter. You know, all beginners have a place in art. Without beginners, there would be no experts. So remember that. If you are a beginner and you think, oh, who am I to be doing this? Well, yeah, art needs you. Everyone needs beginners, because you're the people that are going to...
Because then we can show off that we're a few steps ahead of you.
And one day, other people will be following along saying, I want to be like you. You know, that's the beauty of it.
It's funny, actually. I went out for lunch with some old school friends of mine this week, and one of them was really nice. She goes, oh, I love your art. And I said, oh, I should have brought my sketchbook along and I could have sketched you all. She goes, oh, that would have been good. I bet that would have been great. Could you sketch us all really well? And I go, no, I couldn't sketch you all really well. It would probably look terrible because I haven't drawn it. But they would assume that because I can draw these abstract faces, because I'm practiced, and I've drawn a lot of them, they would assume that then I could sit there and draw them all really well, you know, draw them as a sketch in cafe.
10 minutes,
Yeah. Well, not even in 10 minutes, even if I did it in half an hour. But what you don't realise is that people are good at some things, but not at others as well.
Yeah.
So if you stuck oil paint in my hands, like yours oil paint, I'd never be able to do that. But then if I asked you to draw an abstract face, you'd have a lot more trouble with that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to compare things as well, isn't it? When you do such, like you say, different things.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the best thing to do is compare yourself to yourself. Does that sound weird?
No, I agree. I totally agree.
So look back at the stuff you created like a few months or a few years ago and see how much you've improved. And funnily enough, I found the other day, and I didn't think I still had this. This was on my Facebook. Do you remember years ago we did that? Does alcohol make you more creative challenge? It was because we've been talking about it. And on Facebook, I found the drawing I did, of a wine bottle in both, and both of them were shocking.
Oh, God, so were mine, though, but we were, like, bladdered when we drew them.
No, but one of them we weren't. One of them we were sober.
Yeah.
But my sober one was terrible.
Yeah, and also, I remember that, and I remember... Because I can draw a wine bottle, of course I can. But the thing is, I remember because we weren't really filming anything we were doing at the time. I never had, and I had this problem where as soon as the camera was on, I felt like I can't draw.
We didn't film ourselves.
Did we not?
No,
I thought we did.
We took a photo of the work. Then no, because we talked about it afterwards with the camera.
Oh right, yeah. God, well I've got no excuse then. Mine was
you
just
did
terrible.
Some video, didn't you? You did something on
I
video.
did. I'm pretty sure I did something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I couldn't believe it because I knew obviously it wasn't good. But I thought, oh my God, it's terrible. It was literally terrible.
See, I don't remember thinking yours was terrible at all.
If I find it for you, and
I'm
show
pretty
you
sure
it,
I probably thought, oh, that's better than mine.
I bet you if I show you it now, you'll think it's terrible. I'm going to send it to you if I find it. But I mean, I think like you were saying before, like say for example, like Tracy Emin. If you look at a work of loads of famous artists that is worth a fortune, if I'd created some of those works of art, I'll be bloody pleased because I'll be
A millionaire.
rich. But I'd be thinking, oh God, that's one for the bin. That's one I wouldn't be putting any sentence of why I like it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, but isn't that amazing that there'd be a piece of work you'd be embarrassed to have created that is worth millions?
Yeah. And yet you might be known for that more than anything.
Yeah.
Which would be really frustrating, actually, if you could really, really draw and yet you're known more for the stuff that you just do like that. It's almost unfair, isn't it? Why don't they like the work I do that looks like something? I don't know.
Yeah, but perhaps you wouldn't worry about it too much if it's
Maybe
worth
not.
You could just think, I can do that do what I like for fun anyway.
Yeah. But the other thing is not to assume everything's going to work either. Because no matter how good you are, how experienced you are, you know, you're always going to create work that you're not that impressed with or you don't like. I mean, without mistakes, there's no improvement. So you have to make mistakes to evolve anyway. But all artists do work they're not happy with from time to time. It's completely normal. So, you know, when you feel like karate kicking your painting because it just hasn't worked out, then just do that and move on to the next. And I've actually done that to one of the paintings myself. I've karate kicked it and put a hole in it. But don't see that painting as a sign that you're inferior to the other artists because, you know, everybody produces work they're not confident about from time to time. It's just that we don't necessarily see them. I mean, either that or they understand that, you know, we're rarely our own best judge, so they'll put them out there anyway, like you did with your recent face that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And most likely other people will love it, as you found,
It's
despite
bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, despite
Totally
what
bizarre.
you think of your own work, it doesn't mean to say that other people will agree.
I just will never, ever get that. It's just so bizarre. It's like, what I find really weird, I don't know if it's a bit off topic, but when you do a challenge, say, for example, and let's say, for example, I'm creating these faces.
Yeah.
I don't know kind of what I'm looking for as I do it, and then something emerges.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot will be complete, I think they're complete pants. But within it, you'll find something, and that will become the thread that you might hang a load of future works off.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean what you've created is bad. It's just a means to find the next place. And that's not really to do with imposter syndrome, is it? But I thought I'll throw it in there. Anyway, moving on. You could ask yourself a question. What would you need to do or achieve to not feel like an imposter? And I think this is a real tricky one. You might even want to write it down. So, because you keep moving goalposts. So you might say, now, if you thought about it, what I need to do is to draw something that my mum likes or to sell my first painting. That might be what you need to do to not feel like an imposter. Now write that down, and if you put that away somewhere and you've forgotten about it, I can guarantee that in a year's time, if your mum now likes your picture or you've sold one, you'll probably still feel like an imposter.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see that you've achieved your goal, but just the goal keeps moving.
What's your answer to that question then?
I was trying to think about this, and I really don't know. I think I always say I'd need to be a successful artist, but what is a successful artist?
Yeah, it's such a tricky question because there's so many different answers that would be right or wrong.
There is. Because I guess for me, when I see people on Instagram, say for example Deb Weirs, literally pretty much everything she draws, it will say sold by it when she posts it on Instagram. There'll be odd ones that don't. Now for me, that would definitely be a big measure of success. But that's only one side of things, because I also want Kicking the Creatives to be a success and to not feeling like an imposter, to feel like I've done something.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Well, I didn't know you were going to say any of that. So I haven't really thought about it.
Well, I didn't know you were going to ask me.
But what would I need to achieve?
Or don't you feel like an imposter? Maybe you don't.
Oh, no. Yeah, of course. I don't think that just comes with being an artist, though. I think in any field of work, you can feel like an imposter, can't you? You perhaps feel other people are more successful than you, or they're better at the job than you are, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if there would ever be a time when I wouldn't feel like an imposter. If I got better and better and I did more and more, would that make me feel more of an imposter? Because like I said before, the main time you start feeling like an imposter is when you're doing well. The better you do, the more likely you're going to feel like an imposter.
Yeah, because you're still learning the stuff you need to be, well, you feel like you are.
But that's the thing about art, isn't it? Yeah. You're always still learning. You can't stop learning when it comes to art. You can't ever know everything there is to know about art, and you can't ever get as good as you could be. You just, I don't know. That's the thing about it, isn't it? But yeah, I do feel like an imposter a lot. That's why we're always very careful when we do this podcast, aren't we? That we only really talk about subjects that we're comfortable talking about because we've experienced them. We haven't done podcasts specifically on, say, for instance, how to nail Instagram. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, haven't we? Where neither of us are amazing at Instagram. Neither of us have got loads and loads and loads of followers or anything like that. And so who would we be to then do an episode saying, today we're going to talk about how to get more followers on Instagram, because we don't feel confident enough on our own Instagram pages to be able to do that. What we would do is we'd get somebody in who was really good on Instagram to be interviewed.
Or we'd talk about our experience of Instagram. Not from a expert field, but just how we feel about it.
What's worked for us to a certain degree.
But I don't think we'd do a whole episode, would we?
No. But I think that then would make me feel like an imposter, because I think, well, yeah, really, who am I to do that? Because I'm not an expert on that field. So that's why when we choose the subjects we're going to talk about, it's very much to do with something that either one of us have experienced or both at some point.
Well, but the weird thing is, I think I told you about this the other day. I was watching it was through a course I bought, and there was a woman who was talking about selling your art on Instagram, and she actually said, I haven't got many followers. And she actually she'd got less than me followers, but she was selling her art through it. And so there is where that weird thing comes in, doesn't it?
Also, I think with anything like that, it's the time you put into it. I mean, I know that to get more followers, I'd probably need to be posting absolutely every single day on Instagram, and I just have not got the time to do that. If I just totally decided, okay, I'm going to not do anything now for the next month apart from concentrate on Instagram and painting and posting, then probably I would build up my followers. But I haven't been able to try that at any point, so I can't say whether that would work or not. What you could do,
actually, this is another diversion. What you could do is, when you're painting in your studio, you could take so when you start doing your painting on one of them, take a photo, and then you start on the other, take a photo of your setup. So you could take about 10 photos, and then you could schedule that for next 2 weeks.
I know, and that's what you call being really organised, isn't it? I know, it's terrible. I know exactly what you're saying, yeah.
And that wouldn't actually take you that long, because you'd done it as you go. It's been a bit of a pain, but you've done it as you're going along.
But you'd be surprised how much time that takes out of your day where you should just be creating. Yes. That's the thing. Yeah. You know, if you're painting and then you think, oh God, I've got to just quickly do something for Instagram. As important as it is, really, the most important part is the creative part, isn't it? And it's surprising how much time something like that to set up can take time and take a good chunk of your day out, a chunk which you could have been painting. So I'm always in a bit of a fight with myself, and I think it's because, I'm not in. I don't paint full time because I don't have the time to paint full time. So when I do, I try really hard to focus on it, you know. But
Yeah.
there does come a point where you've got to balance it. You've got to also share, because, you know, otherwise what's the point in anyone following you?
Well, and also, I guess it depends the reason you're doing your creation.
Yeah.
And you can sell yours fairly well anyway. You sell a lot of your work without too much pushing, so you don't have to do that thing. But I guess if you're doing it full time, you probably do have to spend 50% of your time.
If you're doing
trying to
something
market
full
it.
time, you spend as much time on the marketing as the creating,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what I would do, you know. But if you're one of those people who are prone, I think some people are more prone to imposter syndrome than others, and maybe it's a confidence thing, I don't know. But if you are prone to imposter syndrome, one really good thing to do is to actually hang some prints, if you don't have the originals, of some of the work you've done in the past that you're most proud of, and hang it near where you paint. And that way, when you're doubtful of your abilities, you can look at them and remind yourself of what you are actually capable of. Because like I said earlier, not everything will go well. Not everything can possibly go well. But when you do experience those times when you're painting and you think, oh, actually, I'm really doubtful of this. I'm going through it's that skanky teenage stage that I talk about. That's where I often feel like, oh God, I can't look at this painting anymore. It's not going to go right. But actually, when I look back at some other paintings I've got, I just think, God, they all went through that stage, and I just had to push through it. And it's funny, isn't it? We recently, the two of us, because we're doing, and certainly we will be doing more filming in our studios, certainly by next year, I wanted to make my art studio a bit more sort of functional for me, and my husband was so good. He did it all out for me, as I've spoken about, I'm sure 100 times, but you know, he basically redecorated my studio, which was fantastic. And you have got this amazing print, haven't you, Tara, that you have up on your office wall of, it's all abstract faces you've done, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
15.
Is it 15
now? Yeah.
Okay, and it looks fantastic, and it's all your work, and it sort of sits behind you. So when you're on film, people instantly know what kind of thing you do. And so I got one done as well, didn't I, for my art studio, mainly for if I film, then I've got the same sort of thing. Because we're a team as well, it's nice to have a similar kind of background, isn't it, where, you know.
Yeah.
And I would never have really thought about hanging my stuff all around my art studio at all. And I haven't got anything hanging up in my art studio, but this is the first time I've had my work up there, you know, in poster form. Several of the pieces that I've done in the past that I was obviously, you know, I obviously liked. And it's funny because, yeah, I look at them now and I think, oh, it's actually really nice to have that hanging around. It kind of reminds me, yes, you know, this is my art studio and that's why I'm in here. Because I want to produce things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I do go through a stage where it's like, oh, this is not working, I can just look up and think, well, no, they all went through this stage. So it does help. So just remind yourself what you can do by doing that. And actually, you know, from my own experience, I think that's actually, it's very helpful.
Well, there's a couple of things I'd think on that is that, also, we've mentioned before, but if anyone sends you a note saying they like your work, like a message, print that out, put that on a notice board, because I think that's really helpful as well to make you feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
Going back to talking about the poster, you know, the poster with the one I've done for a start with the faces on.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things that made me feel more confident about my faces when I got that large poster back. I think because when you see your own work and it's got tatty edges, you know, because I haven't framed them, they don't look finished and polished, do they?
No.
And then I had this big print come, and I looked at them like, oh God, I did those.
Yeah.
Because it felt almost like they were done by a different person, because they were then on this different medium altogether, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I felt like I was distanced from it. And I could see it through different eyes.
It's a bit like when you used to show me on the videos that we sometimes made, oh, you know, or we were just FaceTiming each other and you were like, oh, I don't know, what do you think of this? I'm not sure. And I'd be like, honestly, Tara, that is really lovely. You put a frame around that and you'll see it will look completely, it would really finish it off. And I remember one day you did, didn't you? You decided, okay, I'll get a frame. And you were like, I can't believe it. It does, yeah, you're right. It really does make it seem finished.
It
more.
looks different, yeah. It looks polished. But seeing them like that, I look at it now and I do come in my room and I think, oh, they look good.
Yeah.
But I do then have the fight. I think I've told you about before with like I shouldn't be experimenting because I should be carrying on doing those. And another thing you can try is you can pretend that your work was created by a friend. Like if you looked at that piece of work, what would you say about it if a friend had created it? Now, because you know you've created it yourself, you'll say all sorts of hideous things to yourself about it, but you probably wouldn't say that to a friend. One, you wouldn't want to hurt their feelings. But also, you would probably see the good things in it and tell them about the good things, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You're never horrible about my stuff.
No, because I like it. No, but I am honest with you. I mean, there's times before you said, oh, you know, I'm really not happy about this one. I hate it. Blah, blah. And I'll look at it and I'll just giggle and go, now, this is usually when we're out sketching, isn't it? We're both very... we both have a lot of fun when we're out sketching, and you'll go, oh my God, and I'll go, yeah, not your best work, Tara, and the other way around, you know. And it's, but on the other hand, sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's amazing, I don't know what you're worried about, sort of thing. And it's just fine to be like that when you know someone well enough. You don't always the thing as well is I've always said, just like when you go out with someone and you go shopping, you know, if your bum does look big in that, you want someone to say, yes, your bum does look big in that, don't you? You don't want them to be polite and say...
It's not really for you.
Yeah, maybe...
You can do it kindly.
Oh, yes. Let's say...
Yeah, don't say my arse looks big. Keep trying here.
You want somebody to... Because otherwise you'll continue walking around in something that really doesn't suit you, sort of thing, and you don't want that. You have to find a person or some people, if you're lucky, that you can have that will be very kindly honest with you. But I'm not horrible about your work. I never would be, but I'm honest about it, and I just really enjoy it. And I think maybe it's because it's so different than mine that I enjoy it so much.
And maybe sometimes when I ask you, you say you like it, it's because I've got imposter syndrome. Because I assume that you're just saying that to be nice.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have got very different work, so... Yeah,
totally different. Yeah. But like we've said before, there's a place for everybody in every style, and that's what makes art so interesting, you know. Well, going back to what you were saying earlier, I know you briefly mentioned putting some positive comments you received about your work and pinning them on a board or something where you can see them.
Yeah.
You do that, don't you? And especially when we get a nice review on the podcast and that, you'll put them up on a board. And like I say, I want to find all these reviews and print them out and do that because I love that idea. I really do. Yeah.
Well, I think Kevin was the one that said you should keep those and print them out. And then when you're feeling down, look at them. And because he says, like, not everybody gets comments like that sent through.
No, it's so true.
I mean, so if someone does say something nice...
As well, the good reason for it is if you've got, say you post something on social media and you have 50 really good comments on a painting you've just done, but you have one that says, I'm not really enjoying that one, you will literally focus on that one comment out of those 50. Your brain will wipe out all of those amazing comments you had and it will purely focus on that one. So, you know, by concentrating on those good ones and putting them up where you can see them, it'll kind of reinforce your confidence, you know, and just burn the other ones.
Yeah, totally odd. But it's not just us mere mortals that feels like imposters at some point, even famous people and prime ministers and presidents. Because I remember hearing that a ex-UK prime minister felt like he had an imposter syndrome. It was David Cameron, actually. So I Googled it because I was trying to find out a bit more about it and what he'd said. But instead, when I did find it, that he did have that, but I found one saying New Zealand's Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, has revealed she suffers imposter syndrome and watches bad crime shows to wind down.
That's not a way I'd find to wind down.
I know, I think that's rather weird. So if you do find that you have imposter syndrome, try a bad crime show. But isn't that weird that really prime ministers have it?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite scary you would think they're running your country.
But you would think those people were so
intelligent,
full of themselves and confident that they wouldn't, you know.
Yeah, I
They
do
would
wonder
feel
that.
perfect.
Because I always think as well, people who can talk really well in public.
Yeah.
Because I have this fear of going blank, which occasionally if I'm under
But
pressure.
your mouth carries on even when your mind does go blank, doesn't
That's
it?
the problem, though. It just keeps moving. Yeah, but yeah, I was really I find people who can talk very, very eloquently and be so articulate when they're talking in public and not have any fear of going blank. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's amazing too. I saw this thing about talking well and trying to get out rid of the ums. You know how like when we talk, we fill everything with ums. It's because you're thinking.
Yeah.
And they said to try and go to, these practice speech places. I can't remember what to call them. Toastmasters or whatever. And then you get someone, every time you say they like bang something or ring a bell.
Oh,
And
how
apparently
irritating.
I know, it'd be really irritating, but apparently doing stuff like that actually gets you out of it because then your brain actually registers when you do it.
Yeah, do you know what? I've never really noticed in the beginning when, say, for instance, when we used to record this podcast, I think probably we did do a lot of ums and ahs, but I don't think we do it so much now, unless I just
We probably do different fillers instead.
yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, we have had the odd words, haven't we? We're like, oh, gotta stop saying that. Yeah. Anyway, so the bottom line is, ultimately, you need to focus on the fact that if you've got imposter syndrome, it's normally because you're doing well and not because you're a fraud, which is basically what we said to begin with. So probably didn't need the rest of the episode, really.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's go on to our previous question. And our previous question was, if someone narrated your life, who would you want to be the narrator?
Yeah, and you asked me, didn't you, if somebody narrated my life. And did you have an answer as well?
Yeah, it was going to be you, so I had a sexy laugh.
Oh, that's right. So I had to think about this and I thought, do you know who I'd like to be the narrator of my life?
I'm hoping it's going to be me.
Well, apart from you, obviously you'd be my first choice, obviously. But if I had to choose a different person other than you, it would be the guy, I don't know his name, it would be the guy who narrates Big Brother, or used to when it was on.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Dear one, in the Big Busby house, Sandra is procrastinating in the art studio.
You've been practicing that, haven't you?
Oh, it took me weeks. I'll tell you what, I am rubbish at accents, so I'm so apologetic to anyone who
That was really good. That was good.
From Newcastle. I'm terrible at accents. Oh, how funny though. If that was going on in the background, that would be so distracting, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if it was actually in the background. And I also, when I watch films and TV shows and I'm like, oh God, imagine if that, because they always play so much music in the background. Sometimes I find it really irritating. And I always imagine, God, imagine if you had that kind of cinematic music playing in the back of your life constantly. But can you imagine if, say for instance, right, you heard a sound when you were in bed downstairs.
And there'd be a creepy tune.
And there'd be, or you just went for a nice little swim in the sea and you had the Jaws music going on. You'd never sleep, would you?
I can imagine if some people had a really vivid imagination. Maybe they get that.
Yeah. Or you get that psycho shower music when you got in the shower.
Why has it got to be horrible? Why can't it be like sexy shower music?
Oh, sexy shower music. Oh, now we're talking. Yeah. Oh, it would be funny though. But yeah, how distracting would it be? It'd be really awful. So yeah, that would be the person who would be narrating my life. I think that would be mainly because I think that would make me chuckle a lot. Anyway, so we had quite a few answers to this. Roving Jay, she said, I'm going to be greedy and I'm going to have a panel discussion doing the narrating Van Gogh, Manet and Toulouse-Lautrec. During the process, they'll take it in turns to illustrate my life as well as narrating it. Now, that's a travel sketchbook I'd treasure. Can you imagine?
Great answer as well.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think it's Lautrec, isn't it? Toulouse-Lautrec?
I've always called him Lautrec.
Have you? Maybe you're right. People
Lautrec.
write in with your answers.
Yeah, just send them to Tara.
Yeah, don't do it. Right, we've got Adrian Sutherland, and she says, Bill Nighy. I could listen to his voice all day. Can't believe I had to look at the spelling of Nighy. I don't actually know who Bill Nighy is, although I do recognise the name.
Yeah, anyway, I've got Weeping Dove Studio, Cyndi Lauper. She has the cutest voice.
So I've got Whitmore Carroll, and she says, my one and only daughter, of course.
I've got Michael Beckett, Ryan Reynolds as his Deadpool character. I hate to admit this, but I never watched Deadpool either.
No, me neither. I've got Becky Smith, and I like this one, David Attenborough, because that would be funny, wouldn't it?
That'd be
Treating
hilarious.
like you're an animal in your habitat.
Yeah, I love. Oh, he's got the most amazing voice as well, hasn't he? An unforgettable voice. I love it. I've got Alan Green, the legendary Dustin Hoffman as the absolutely legendary Richard Burton is already pushing up daisies.
I've got Andy W. Art. He says, I would have to choose someone with the same accent and sense of humour. So Dave Spikey was my choice. If you want a few minutes of laughter, try Dave Spikey Wigan Pies on YouTube. There are a couple of F-bombs though, so that's why I'm not posting a link.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't make us read those out either.
What, the F-bombs? I'd have given them to you.
I've got John Killian Holt, Jesco White, because I want people to know I was salt of the earth.
Now, I Googled this person, this Jesco White, and basically he's being sarcastic because he definitely wasn't the salt of the earth. I've got Maren Grossen. She says, Vigga Bro, poetic, funny, deep, queen of storytelling in Denmark.
And I've got Helen de Pericave. I'm so sorry. I do not know how to pronounce your name. She said, Nora Batty. She's got the right accent and attitude. Oh, who doesn't love Nora Batty?
I've got Penny Henriksen. She says, I think Tom Hiddleston or Benedict Cumberbatch, they would give me a worthy dose of gravitas, a feeling of complex emotionality, an off-the-wall level of snarky humour that is really me, and everyone would enjoy listening to them.
I've got Maria Kelly, Diane Morgan as Philharmonica Kunk. I think she's hilarious and might actually make my pretty humdrum life amusing. I love that, Philomena Kunk. I think that's really funny. Anyway, we have a brand new question for you, which is, and these again a bit serious. We need to find a fun one for next time, but this is interesting. Do you believe that it's important to be accepted by others as being creative, or is just doing what you love to do enough to justify your work? So,
and why, I think we should add to the
oh,
end of
okay,
that.
and why?
Yeah, because we don't just want yes or no.
No,
We want some interesting answers.
we do.
And as always, you can tweet us your answers, Kick Creatives, or let us know in the Facebook group, which if you haven't joined already, I would suggest you do. We'll put the question up there and also on the Facebook page. And of course, I will put up on Instagram, which is Kick in the Creatives.
So we hope that gave you the kick in the creatives you needed. And don't forget to pop over to our website at kickinthecreatives.com to find out how you can take part in some of our upcoming creative challenges. And of course, there you can also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you do enjoy the podcast, we would be so grateful if you would leave us a review on either iTunes or wherever you listen to us, or even just a star rating if you don't have much time.
Also, don't forget to check out our Neocolours Whack Pastel course at kickinthecreatives.com/neocolours.
And if you enjoy what we do and you'd like to help us here at Kick in the Creatives and help support us, you can now do so by buying us a coffee, and you can find the Ko-fi link on our website. And that's it.
That's it.
All right.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes. Back soon.
Oh, I think our bell's just gone. Bear with me.
Okay.
Doorbell. Sorry, it's a postie.
I was sitting there thinking, do you know what? I swear she's just invited him in for coffee.
No, it's postie because our post box is on the gate, so I have to go out to the gate.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Anything
and then
exciting in your post
I
box?
don't know. It's a parcel, but I don't remember ordering anything.
Oh,
but no doubt I
it might be
have.
art. Open it.
It might be art materials. Do you want me to open?
I want you
Shall
to open it.
it
Go open
live
it.
on air.
Yeah, go on. See if it's art
No.
materials.
It's got loads of tape on it. Needs. I've just washed my hands, so I've just done the old 20-second hand wash. So I can't
I was
open.
waiting for. I'm sitting here thinking,
Yeah.
crikey, this is a long visit.
So, I wasn't having a wee or anything. If you had the water.
I've got a sketchbook arriving today.
Have you?
Yeah.
What sort?
You
Oh,
know
we shouldn't
those
talk about this, should we?
Canson, those Canson XL mixed
yes.
media? Well, I decided that I was, for our next London trip, I wanted to get another 7x10 rather than the bigger ones.
Yeah.
And the bigger ones, I think they come from America because they take them in weeks to come. I thought, oh no, do you know what? I really need this because we're going to be meeting up in September. I really need to make sure I have one in time for that. I had to look, and the 7x10 ones were on Prime.
Oh, right. That's
So
good.
It's coming today. I ordered it tomorrow. I was really happy.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
I might get myself one so we can match.
Yeah, let's match. Yeah.
I can't remember.
Can't remember where we were, can you?